So let's talk about, given the dire landscape. I mean, let's bring this up, Baba, because I hadn't seen you before gold. No, the last time I spoke to you was before gold's big run here. And for the first time in 45 years, gold has become less than volatile than treasuries. As we know, treasuries was the safe haven of choice, the safest thing to own. But now gold beating treasuries. What's this telling you? Are you surprised?
No, I'm not. So, as you know, I've said I thought that gold was going to make new all-time highs this year. And I
Yes.
think that it's going to continue to move. I think that some people are realizing, those who have some money are realizing
Yeah.
that there's a very good possibility that they may need gold and silver as a currency at some point. You're seeing the destruction of the fiat currency system. Okay, because of course the central bankers are too busy stealing and trying to make things go away and actually devalue currency, making inflation even a bigger problem. So I don't think it's any surprise that we're seeing the gold and silver markets move higher and actually outperforming treasuries because, again, treasuries are guaranteed or backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. How much faith do you have in them having the credit without having to reduce the value of what you have? So people are reaching more for a hard asset, which is gold. And I think that that's going to continue as we watch. I think it's even helped Bitcoin as well, which is, again, it may not be recognized yet as a stored asset value, but certainly it is getting a lot more action and has been able to hold well over 60,000 now.
I want to get your insights. Obviously, you've been in the gold market, you've been covering it for a long time, you've seen all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. What I find interesting is given this price run in gold, right? So we get it. We see Costco selling out of gold bars. I mean, there's a 2 bar minimum. So it's not like the big buyers of gold. Maybe it's the person that just thought, hey, it's fun to own a gold bar. I'm talking about the person that wants to put, a million, half a million, quarter of a million in gold. Are you seeing that investor there at these price levels?
I am. I think, again, you're starting to now, the people that have money are now
Yeah.
recognizing that they're going to have to defend their money because, yes, the equity markets are still the greatest
Nice.
investment
Yeah.
in history. But overall, you may need to get through whether it's going to be a revolution or another civil war or these tough times that are being created here. You might need hard assets to be able to buy groceries. Now, again, I know that's way outlandish and hard to believe, but I think we're so close to that happening and that event occurring. And depending on how the election goes this year and what they try to do now, you have so much hatred in this country now that people are getting concerned. And those who have it understand that although they have it, they may not be able to access it. So they better have another form of currency, which would be in the fact of gold and silver.
And I want to get your thoughts on silver and platinum, by the way. So let me bring that up. But first, one more point. Bloomberg Markets Live Pulse Survey. They asked folks, what's the best bet against inflation? So gold, the haven of choice for decades, was still seen as the best safeguard. 46% of survey participants choosing gold. Okay, I'm not surprised by that. But nearly a third, 30%, said the tech behemoths, so Nvidia and company, were also their hedge against inflation. Does that surprise you? And I mean, Bitcoin was like in fourth place with 5%, but the tech behemoths here, that people are seeing this as a play against inflation. I mean, despite the volatility that you see here
I
in these
don't,
stocks.
I can't put myself in that position as that
Yeah,
is to protect me.
right.
You know, listen, Nvidia's a great company. Obviously, it's exploded higher and all the big behemoths, but we've seen those things happen. We saw it happen in the 90s with the internet bubble. Now, I do think that these stocks are more in bubble territory than anything else, and they're not hard assets. They still depend on making money and earnings and other things versus gold is just a hard asset that you're going to own, whether it's higher or lower. It has stored value of something. I have no idea where Nvidia is going to be, but I've said to many that I believe that Nvidia will be back in the 600s before this year is over. And if we get another market meltdown, which again, typically they don't happen in market election years, except for in 2008. But, we're so over leveraged as a country. The banks are so over leveraged as individuals that it wouldn't surprise me if we did get a major meltdown. And it wouldn't surprise me if we got a 50 to 60 to 70% haircut. And what do you think is going to happen to those big tech behemoths when that does happen? They're
Well,
going to go down
exactly.
faster. So
Exactly.
again, I cannot justify recommending anybody going into an NVIDIA as a hedge against inflation or a hedge of what's going on. I think that they're making a big mistake. They're better off hedging their overall equity portfolio using derivatives to hedge that, and of course, buying gold and silver and platinum.
Okay, platinum. World Platinum Investment Council released its quarterly supply and demand trend report, saying that we need to brace for major deficits coming into the platinum market. We're seeing it above $1,000 again here. Thoughts on platinum? Should we hold on to that platinum bar before selling it anytime soon?
Well, listen, the price is where it's at. I own a lot, okay, and I couldn't be a seller here. I mean, at one point, if you remember, platinum was over gold. Now it's less than half of gold. So to me, there's something going on there that doesn't make a lot of sense, and I think you're just going to have to wait it out. Which is why when you do buy physical metals, you need to buy with money that you can afford and money that isn't to pay the rent or the mortgage or the car payment. Because of course, when you have to sell them, you're not going to be happy when the price you're going to get. So I think that I would be a buyer of platinum here still, but again, I'm buying it with money that I can afford. Okay, it's just
Right.
like I buy Bitcoin because I don't worry if it goes to zero. If it goes to zero, it'll be a loss. But overall, I think that platinum has a much bigger upside than gold and silver over the long haul because I expect it to go back over gold at some point.
Right, right. And to that point, I mean, you saw folks liquidating their gold at these all-time highs. I mean, wouldn't you say, like, unless you really had to because you needed cash, but I mean, doesn't it puzzle you a bit? I mean, it puzzles me.
People always puzzle me. I didn't sell it. I didn't sell an ounce, and I'm not going to sell an ounce. My kids will probably sell it when I drop. Then my gold will be sold. But I have no reason to sell it. I can still
You need
live.
to educate them, Baba. Come on, they know.
They want the money. They don't realize they'll be educated. Believe me. But my point is that again, unless you need the money for a reason and you want to sell it all the time, I have no problem with people taking a profit. But I think that you have to have a much longer view of life and where you're at. And if you're making a good enough living and don't need the money and you have enough gold to sell, then you probably make enough money to go ahead and live and hold on to that gold, because I think over time it's going to be a tremendous investment. And again, my real concern is it's going to be needed for a currency for a while once again.
Thoughts on silver? You brought up silver, and I know that people always write in saying we don't talk enough about silver on the show. What's your gut feeling? Look, I know you've loved silver more than gold at one point.
I still do,
Maybe not
because
quite.
I think it's got a much bigger probability. I think if silver can finally break through 30, it's trading at 28.50 right now. I think if it can break through 30, I think it's on its races to 40. Okay. I think if it can break out, it's been in this real tight range when you look at it for years. Okay. If it can break out of that range and get off to the races, I think it closes the gap on gold as well. And of course, you're going to need some silver. If I'm correct on my hypothesis of that you may need it as a currency, you're going to need some silver because you're going to need some smaller change, because you're not walking into a store with a 10-ounce gold bar that'll be worth $40,000 and you got to make change for a loaf of bread. So I mean, you got to think about those things. But I do think silver has a much bigger possibility than gold as far as a percentage gain. I mean, gold's going to continue to gain, but I think silver is going to close the gap between the gold and silver ratio.